I've been friends with Dan for like 2 years, and we were together for 3 years. And in a lot of ways, we really clicked. But one point of conflict was that he always took jokes too far. 2 weeks ago was my birthday, and I got a text at work asking me to come over to his after work because we needed to talk. I replied, "Talk about what?" And he said he just didn't think things were working between us. So I had to cry with my work bestie in the bathroom, knowing that was pretty much a breakup text, and feeling hurt he'd drop it on me by text on my birthday at work. I was angry enough that I let my friend take my phone so I wouldn't say anything I regret, and she just ended up sending K and "boy bye" and then blocking him. My boss came into the bathroom and found me crying. I said I'd just been dumped by text, and it was my birthday too, and she gave me the rest of the day off and told me to file it as sick leave, which was super kind of her. So I got in my car and went to his house, knowing he'd still be at work, and I grabbed all my crap because I honestly didn't feel like I had it in me to play the game of trying to get an ex to sort out all your crap and give it back to you over time. I just wanted to get my crap and go home, so I left my copy of the keys on his table when I left. I met my friends for drinks and we had a long talk where I vented about how sudden it was, how it felt out of nowhere because we had plans to spend Thanksgiving and Christmas together with his family, how we were starting to talk about getting engaged, and how I wanted to unblock him and actually talk. But my friends were like, "Not tonight, you've been drinking. If you still want to, in the morning." Which I feel was good advice under other circumstances. But when I called my ex the next day, he was getting upset with me about how I didn't come by to talk because, get this, it was a prank. He was also upset that I was ignoring his calls and texts and wasn't home when he came to my apartment that night. He thought it would be funny to send me a "we need to talk" text, and when I show up, take me on a fancy dinner on a boat and out to an exclusive rooftop bar, and basically surprise me with a really good night. I didn't buy it at first. I was like, you can't just change your mind about breaking up and make some crap up. He said it was seriously just a joke and that he hadn't meant it to come off as a breakup text. I said I wasn't interested in being with someone who dumped me over text, whether it was just a prank bro or not, and I reblocked him. I've since told all our friends that he dumped me over text on my birthday and then tried to get me back by saying it was a birthday prank or some crap. This makes me angry because he says he never dumped me, but everyone thinks he did. He's angry that I'd throw it all away like that and that I'd lied to our mutual friends. Am I the idiot for being like, okay, when my ex sent me a breakup text on my birthday as a prank? Not the idiot. You rolled like the queen you are. Consider it the greatest birthday gift he could give you, removing his presence from your life. If he was willing to go to those lengths for a prank, what else would he be willing to do? You dodged a bullet there. His behavior and attitude are massive red flags, and he has nobody to blame but himself. There's something seriously wrong with someone who would think it's funny to make you anxious and hurt on your birthday. There are plenty of harmless ways he could have pulled off a surprise, if that was even true. Instead, he did something vicious and mean, and then got angry when you had a normal reaction. He tried to make his behavior your fault. You dodged a bullet. This is not a prank. It's just cruel. Good riddance. Screw that dude. Of course, everyone believes you. They've seen his stupid jokes before, and you have the receipts if anyone has doubts. Kudos to your friends for being there for you and for keeping your phone locked that night. You got better things to do than play games like that. Bravo for shaking off the dead weight and treating it the way you have. I, 32 female, got married 7 years ago. My mom made my wedding dress, and she also did the same for my older sister at her wedding 9 years ago. Sadly, my mother passed away 3 years ago from cancer. My younger sister, Jess, 27, is currently engaged, and her wedding will be in 1 year. We recently met for coffee, and she commented that she always wanted our mother to make her dress, but at the time she wasn't even with her current fiance, and now she can't anymore. After a little chat, she asked if I still had my wedding dress, as she would like to wear it too, as it was something my mother made. I was a little disconcerted and asked if it could be our sister's dress, She's already lent it to someone else, as I was very attached to the wedding dress. She said she didn't want hers because it wasn't white. It was pastel pink, and my body and hers were more similar. I said I didn't want to because even though we have similar bodies, it would need adjustment in the breast and hips area. I don't want to modify the dress, but she could borrow my veil if she wanted to have something from our mother. She started complaining, saying that it wouldn't hurt me to borrow the dress. The adjustments would be minimal. She was the only one of the sisters who couldn't have something done by her mom, and she basically had to turn to me to get something of hers. She practically begged me to borrow the dress. I feel bad for her, but I really don't want to modify anything in the dress because it's a memory of my mom and one of the best days of my life. It was just for me. So in the face of all of this, I don't feel comfortable letting her borrow the dress, but I could concede the veil. She walked away crying after I stood by my decision, saying that I was being selfish, not to allow her to have any feelings close to having something done by her mother and not being able to share something so special with her too. She will never have something close to that. People are calling me an idiot, our father, fiance, and in-laws, except my older sister, who didn't choose sides. So am I? Extra. It's not a dress I wear all the time, of course, but it's literally something that's unique to each daughter. The three of us have flower names and dress, and my older sister's dress has details of our flowers. No idiots here. I'm sorry for both of you. She's right that it isn't fair that she won't get a dress, but you would be losing yours. The veil would be a good compromise if your mother made that as well. The only idiots are the other people forcing themselves into the conversation by calling OP an idiot. It's okay for sister to ask, even for her to beg, but it's okay for OP to hold her ground. Fiance and his family don't have the right to interject themselves into the situation and need to sit down. OP's dad can weigh in, but he should recognize how each daughter's handling their grief. You are the idiot. She asked, you refused, which was your right to do so. However, from her point of view, she will never have that connection to your mother that she lost. I get that the dress is special to you. You've made it clear that it means more to you than your flesh and blood sister. So when your relationship falls apart, take comfort in knowing that a piece of material is still intact to keep you company, rather than sharing the special bond you had with your mother with your sister. Again, she asked and you refused, and that was your selfish right to do, but it was an idiot move. I agree this is so sad, and I totally understand both perspectives. However, why don't you and your sister have a dress made for her with the flowers of her name on it? So while it won't be from your mom, it will be from her big sisters. Honestly, you're not the idiot, and hopefully she will accept this. I have a son, Ryan, 22. Ryan has a wife, Holly, 22. They got married and moved in together around 4 months ago after dating for 3 years. I'm really happy for them. There's just a small problem though. Holly has recently started making posts on social media with jokes about how horrible mothers-in-law are, all the time. When seeing them, I thought I had done something to upset Holly. I asked her about it, and she insisted that I hadn't upset her, and she just posted them because she thought they were funny. I asked Ryan about it, and he said that Holly never seemed upset at me and told me I'm overthinking it. But Holly keeps making these posts. The rest of my family have even been asking me if everything's okay between me, Ryan, and Holly because they've seen the post too. The last straw was when Holly posted about arguments with monsters-in-law. Now everyone in my family thinks I argued with Holly when that didn't even happen. I asked Holly about it again, and she said that once again, she just posted it because she thought it was funny, not anything personal to me. I told Holly that she was making me uncomfortable and making my family think that I was being horrible to her. Holly said that's not her problem and that people need to learn how to take a joke. I asked Holly to stop making these posts because people aren't going to interpret them that way. Holly said that I'm being unreasonable and told me I couldn't tell her what to do and said that I was a bossy jerk. Not the idiot. Holly is 100% doing this on purpose. If she has an issue with you, she should talk to you about it like a reasonable adult instead of making passive-aggressive posts. Also, allowing everyone else in your family to believe that you had an argument with her that didn't happen is incredibly manipulative on Holly's part. OP, fight fire with Honey though if you use social media. Post some really nice things about family and make sure she's included in that. Have a nice visit. Post about how thankful you are for visits with family. Post those nice inspirational posts about how daughters-in-law are bonus daughters and treasures and perfect for whatever reason. Don't go mad, just a little sprinkle among your other things to make it clear that you value her. Start getting snap happy at family gatherings, even if not taking photos of the people, a picture of the food, and another lovely meal with son and daughter-in-law tagged. So when she posts her nonsense, people will be able to see the disparity between them, but you have the receipts. Just don't go overboard. That looks like overcompensating or hiding something. The trick is to keep it subtle, genuine, and occasional. This is the way. Don't just kill with kindness, annihilate with compassion. Leave no survivors. Holly does sound like she's trying to stir up drama, but the best way to deal with that is not to give them the drama they want. Make yourself untouchable by not giving her any ammo whatsoever. She sounds like she wants an evil mother-in-law, just to be part of the in-laws from the bad place club or something. My female 32, father 56, lives with me. After my mom passed away a few years ago, he had trouble dealing with life and I tried to help him out. I had a spare room and I said he could stay there. My siblings and I cleaned up my parents' house and we rented it out with his 100% agreement. The money covers the mortgage and lets him contribute to my household budget for food and utilities. Andy has a little money every month, so he doesn't have to go into his savings or retirement funds. He could go back to work, but he hasn't. I'm not a mental health professional, but he won't go to one either. I think he's just depressed, but I can't make that diagnosis. I work from home and occasionally meet clients for lunch or at their workplaces, so my car usually sits for days on end. My father got the idea that I didn't need a car for myself, and when my aunt's car broke down, he started letting her borrow mine without my permission. I told him that if he wanted to lend out a car, he should lend his car out. He drives a very nice full-size truck. He says that my aunt is uncomfortable driving it. I said I didn't care and needed my vehicle to be available. He said that family helps family. I said my car was mine and not to be lent out. I spoke with my aunt and told her to stop asking for my car. He decided to test my patience. He trapped me in the garage with his truck and left the house one day when he knew I had a meeting. I had to Uber to the meeting. I was almost late. I was absolutely livid. When I got home, his car was still there, but my car was gone. My aunt needed it for appointments. I told him that it was time for him to move out. He isn't just inconveniencing me now. He's actively sabotaging my job. He cried that he was sorry and wouldn't do it again. I gave him one last chance. There were no problems until yesterday. He lent out my car so my aunt could visit her kid. He had had a key made. I saw that my car was missing, and I didn't even ask. I called and reported it stolen. My car has a tracker in it because it's not paid off. It was easy to find. I, in the meantime, had turned off my phone and gone shopping. I was unavailable when everyone started calling me to tell the cops that my aunt had my permission to take my car. I feel bad for wasting the cops' time, and my family says my aunt was traumatized. My dad is moving in with her now. I did drop the charges and cleared everything up, but my family's still mad at me. I'm mostly mad at my father, but my aunt bore the brunt. Not the idiot. Your aunt knowingly took your car without asking for your permission. That is your car, not your father's. Your aunt is not innocent here. You told her not to use your car. Why can't she Uber to her appointments? Her schedule is not your responsibility. Now you have your car, and your dad is moving in with her. I'd say that's a win-win. You've done way more than your share. Do you think that aunt will somehow find it within herself to drive your dad's truck and not feel uncomfortable? Now that's her only option. Agreed, but you missed my favorite point. How is it no one had OP's number to ask about borrowing the car, but magically found it when they needed to get aunt out of trouble with the cops? Amazing. To screw around is human. To find out is divine. I had to LOL at the family helps family. Hello? You're putting your dad up and taking care of his affairs. You didn't waste the cops' time. Your car was literally stolen. Just because it was stolen by someone you know doesn't mean it wasn't stolen. Furthermore, you specifically told them both to stop taking your car. I wouldn't have dropped the charges. Yeah, and Daddy has a nice new truck. He could trade in for a couple of used vehicles. Since he's so adamant about family helping the family. And then there's the whole thing where he doesn't have the money to live on his own, but has a brand new vehicle. Frankly, they deserve each other, and you deserve space from them. I'm 22 male. My nephew is pre-tween, and my brother's 23. I have a special nickname for my nephew. I call him Blip. I call him that because he was a tiny baby when he was born, and when I first held him, my dad said, "He's barely a blip on your radar." That was a joke because I'm pretty tall, and my nephew looked extra tiny when I was holding him. Since then, Blip became my nickname for him. I still call him that, and he doesn't like it when anyone other than me calls him that. The issue happened earlier today. My siblings, they're technically my step-siblings, but I consider them siblings, and I were visiting my dad and stepmom. I got there at the same time as my brother. I walked in and said hello to everyone. I said, "Hey, Blip," to my nephew. My brother, nephew's uncle, walked in after me and said, "Hey, Blip," to my nephew as well. My nephew didn't like that and politely asked my brother not to call him that. That started an argument between my brother and me that ended with him asking me not to call my nephew Blip anymore. I refused, and my brother called me a pompous idiot. The families are pretty split on this. My dad and older sister, my nephew's mom, think I should be allowed to have a special nickname for my nephew, but my stepmom and younger stepsister think that if they can't call him Blip, then I shouldn't be allowed to either. So, am I the idiot for refusing to stop using my nephew's nickname? Editing to add. After the argument between my brother and me, I asked my nephew if he was still okay with me using his nickname. He said he still wanted to be called Blip by me. Not the idiot. The only opinion that matters is your nephew's. Everything else is just noise. Why is there a family debate over this? Why are the families involved? Why did bro just not stop and apologize when your nephew told him not to call him the nickname? Your bro certainly is, and your families are out of line. It seems like one of the most common things in family too. I have a nickname I only accept from my sister, and she has one she only accepts from me. They're indicative of a relationship only we have, so no one else even tries to use them, as they don't have that specific relationship with either of us. It feels like the family's trying to ensure they get a piece of the relationship between OP and his nephew, which is just sad, as bonds should be unique. Exactly. Your nephew doesn't like it when anyone else calls him Blip. If your brother keeps calling him Blip, he'll only teach him that others can disregard his identity as they wish. So anyone else who calls him that without his permission is the idiot. I'm amazed that your brother, who's 23, doesn't understand what is obvious to your child. My stepmom has been married to my dad since I was 7. She was the other woman in my parents' marriage and was also supposed to be my mom's best friend. I didn't know her pre-affair reveal very well. She lived in another city, and apparently, for most of my life and my sister's life, she and her dad had been sleeping together. This is not something I was aware of as a kid. My sister and I knew we didn't have parents who got along after the divorce. We could sense the tension. Once or twice, we had an idea Mom hated our stepmom, but she never said or did anything directly in front of us. The vibe was just there. It didn't stop us from loving our stepmom. We found out what happened when I was 19. We felt so bad for our mom, but our stepmom had always been good to us, and Dad was good to us, so we tried not to let it change things. After my fiance and I announced our engagement on social media, my stepmom wrote a post about how she dreamed of this day when I was born, how she had been so excited to watch her very first baby grow up and get married, how she and Dad had talked about it before I could walk. She tagged my dad, but she also tagged some friends who knew her back then and were also friends with my mom. The post was distasteful and honestly exposed that she had always planned to have an affair. However, it did change how I felt. I told her to take it down and apologize. She told me she didn't regret the post and asked why I wasn't happy she loved me that much. I accused her of rubbing it in Mom's face, the fact that she had stabbed her in the back and won the love of my sister and me after betraying her as she did. She told me it was 20 years ago and my mom should be over it. I decided not to include her in any wedding planning. She is a wedding planner as a profession, and I knew she would want to, but I'm not happy with her post. Mom was so happy when I told her, but when my stepmom wanted to know when she'd be dress shopping with me and what I wanted her help with, I told her I didn't want her involved in any wedding planning. So she and my dad are saying that I'm overreacting and shouldn't be treating her this way when she's been a good parent to me. Not the idiot. My God, how dense is this woman? She practically put it out there for everyone to see that she knowingly was having an affair with your dad while your mom was pregnant with you. She'd be lucky to even get an invite to the wedding if it was me. Tell her she's reaping the consequences of sleeping around and find out 20 years later. I'm practically spitting fire at this woman's audacity. She and my dad are saying I'm overreacting and shouldn't be treating her this way when she's been a good parent to me. No, she's not a good parent to you by putting up that post, knowing it would hurt your mom. And she was supposedly your mom's best friend. With friends like her, who needs enemies? And her minimizing the pain your mom felt she needed to get over it because it's been 20 years is infuriating. I don't think she's dense. I think she's calculating. I think stepmom thinks she's won, especially since bio mom was such a saint and never spoke ill of them to the children. She probably sees OP's mom as a pushover or thinks that the kids love her so much more than their mom and would choose stepmom over their mom, and therefore has no problem making posts like that on social media. OP, this is crucial to your wedding planning. Warn every one of your vendors. Yeah, OP, password protect everything. I'm sure stepmom will get over it. It may take 20 years, but she'll get over it, LOL. Her mask slipped, and now you know who she really is. Side note, I would like to suggest you comment on her post and respond with, I'm the daughter of your best friend, who you screwed over by screwing her husband. I'm not your firstborn anything. It seems like your dad is a total idiot too, who simply used his first wife as a baby factory, and then he married his stalker. This reads as though she's infertile, and stepmom ran a long con to get kids. It sounds like it was the plan from the start. He's not in a position to be judging your behavior or giving you advice. You have every right to feel what you're feeling right now. I am a 62 female. I have a daughter, Michelle. She's 25, and her daughter's preschool age. I let my daughter move in 8 months ago due to her separation, and she told me she was having financial issues. I told her she could stay, but that this living situation was temporary and not permanent. I told her she needed to save up quickly and not to expect to lean on me, because I knew when I gave Michelle an inch, she always took a mile. Since Michelle has been living under my roof, she's been nagging me about babysitting. I told Michelle when she got here that I would not be her 24/7 handy nanny under any circumstances, and to not treat me as such. I am 62 and would like peace and to live my life. I told Michelle up front that she needed to figure out daycare. She continued to disrespect me and break my house rules during her stay. My granddaughter's homeschooled, so I told her that she either needed to find a stay-at-home job or figure out daycare expenses. She's done neither of such and has made my life harder than it has to be. I charge her $350 a month for rent, which is a huge discount because her daughter and herself take up 2 rooms in my house, and my rent is $2,900 a month. Michelle was never a tenant. These past few weeks I've been asking Michelle daily what the plan is. What is her plan and when will she move? She gives me excuse after excuse and gives me names of people she says she'll stay with. Each time I ask her, her answer varies. Finally, I had her give me the numbers of these people who she says tell her that she can stay there. This morning, my daughter and my granddaughter went off to hang out with a friend. I told her she needed to find some place to go many months ago. As I mentioned, this move was temporary. I called one of the friends whose number she gave me and asked about the living arrangement. I was told that she never asked to live with her, but that they both would be welcome for a few weeks. I confirmed and told her they'd be on their way. After taking apart my granddaughter's plastic bed and gathering their belongings in bags, I texted my daughter and told her their things were outside on the porch. So, am I the idiot? Everyone's the idiot here. Mostly, I just feel bad for your little granddaughter. She did nothing to deserve having a crappy mother and a crappy grandmother and apparently a crappy father, since she's not staying there and is instead with an unstable mother and unwelcoming grandmother. You all suck. I hope your daughter figures out her life so that her granddaughter doesn't suffer anymore. Crappy grandmother? She's not responsible for her adult daughter's actions. What was she supposed to do? Take care of her adult daughter for the rest of her retirement life? Her daughter lied and isn't actively looking for a way. No upfront plan, only excuses. Michelle was never a tenant. Sorry to break it to you, but from your description, she almost certainly was, legally speaking. You'd be shocked at how easy it is for someone to become a tenant in the eyes of the law and gain the full protection of tenancy laws. The fact that there was an agreement for her to pay rent is very, very bad news for you, even if she never paid you. Someone doesn't become not a tenant just because their landlords call them a guest. Most states require written notice. Certainly a court will require actual evidence of notice. It's absolutely not enough to just tell her. You are the idiot, OP. You've genuinely escalated the situation. And if your daughter knows her rights as a tenant or gets good legal advice, you could expect things to go badly moving forward. I live next to a couple whom I'm friendly with, but not much past "how are you" and chatting about things in the neighborhood. Last week, I was out for a morning walk and noticed Amber lugging a butt-ton of plants from her backyard to her porch. She said hello, so I stopped to chat and see if she needed help. It looked like she was starting her own landscaping company. She finally felt inspired to work on the new garden she's been planning for months. She ripped out everything she currently had and was going to put it on the curb as freebies. I've always wanted to turn my lawn into a nice garden, so I felt like I struck gold. I offered to pay her because there was a substantial amount of shrubbery, but she refused. I wheelbarrowed everything over to my backyard, bought her some pastries as a thank you, and offered cash again to help her with her new garden. She refused, and that was that. I spent the weekend replanting everything with my boyfriend, and our backyard looks great. Until I got a knock on my door yesterday from her husband. It turns out he said she gave permission for him to tell me this. She struggled with bipolar and was going through a manic episode. There's no new garden she's been planning for months, just a bipolar-induced attack on their backyard that she now regrets. She's too embarrassed to talk to me herself. I get it. I struggle with depression, and the fewer people I have to explain myself to, the better. But she wants her plants back. Apparently that garden was her baby, and she destroyed it in a fit of mania. I'm sad for her because crappy decisions when you're in the mental toilet suck. But everything's already planted in my backyard, and I'm not willing to put in the effort to dig everything up. It'll look awful, and yeah, that's what they're dealing with now. But I don't believe it's my fault. I nicely told him that, and he just said okay and left. Now when I see them, they completely ignore me. I've crossed paths with them 3 times since, and her husband waved, but she didn't even look at me. I saw them taking soil and compost bags out of their car today, and Amber just looked really upset and not at all excited to be working on a new garden. My boyfriend thinks I should offer to give at least some of them back because, I'm not exaggerating, she gave me a ton of plants. I just don't want her to think she can be rude to me after her mistake and then get what she wants. Am I the idiot? She's not being rude. She's embarrassed and now trying to reconstruct what she destroyed. She's gutted. She feels like crap, and you were under no obligation to return the plants. It wouldn't have been unreasonable to meet her in the middle and let her reclaim her most precious ones. Y'all might have even collaborated on your garden, and you could have had a good gardening ally. You aren't technically in the wrong, but your attitude regarding what happened sucks. You are the idiot for making this about you. Absolutely this. Offer them money again, and don't skip on it. Calculate how much you would have had to pay for your new garden, and offer that money again, and be nice and understanding about it. Having a good relationship with your neighbors is worth its weight in gold. Not the idiot. What would she have done if you had taken the plants in, and instead, some random stranger had picked them up off the sidewalks, as she had originally stated? She would be in the exact same spot. If anything, this should show her and her husband that maybe her symptoms aren't under control, and she needs to speak with her doctor. That's not your problem, though. That's theirs. Agree. You spent a whole weekend fixing your garden, and they expect you to trash it because she feels foolish? What about your mental health? I hate when people with mental health issues use that as an excuse to mess with others' mental health. Learn from this and just reject everything in the future, or discuss it with her husband first, as he seems more responsible. And for people who say OP took advantage, she can only take advantage of something she was aware of. I am 7 months pregnant with my first child. The baby is also my husband's family's first grandchild and nephew, which everyone is excited about. Being an only child, I lost my mother and father, so there's not much of my family. Since the death of my parents 1 year ago, my husband's family has welcomed me with open arms as part of them, and I've become very close to my mother-in-law and sister-in-law. I always wanted to have a gender reveal, and I trusted my sister-in-law to organize everything. I think gender reveal is tacky, but my mom was the type who loved it, and she always dreamed of having grandchildren. She said she was made to be a grandmother. She can't meet my son or even know I'm pregnant, so I wanted to do something for her, not for me. Everyone knew the importance of why I always wanted to have a gender reveal with my mom. Well, 3 days before the party, I started receiving messages from all of my husband's relatives and even close friends congratulating me on my baby being a boy. I went to ask what happened, and my sister-in-law confessed that she let it slip to my mother-in-law, and she told everyone the gender of the baby after knowing because she couldn't hold it, and it took proportions beyond what they had imagined. Nobody calls me to let me know this. The party was canceled, and I was heartbroken and extremely hurt by the two of them. Usually they accompanied me to the ultrasound, shopping for the baby's room, and my mother-in-law would stay at the delivery time. But after this breach of trust, I stopped inviting them and asked them to respect my boundaries when they pressured me to go. Honestly, I didn't even send them the baby shower invite because I really avoided contact with them as much as possible because everyone knew before me that it was a boy. My husband started complaining that I was pushing them away because of a mistake that could happen and that I was being harsh. So yesterday he brought this up, and when I said that I still didn't feel comfortable with them, he said, "Soon you'll tell me that my mother won't be able to go to the birth." I think my face showed my response, and he started saying I was too hard on her because she was just excited and blah, blah, blah. I had my limit and said, "If you keep pushing me, it won't just be your mother who won't be in the delivery room. So either stop or you won't come in." He started to say that I was crossing the lines and that he had a right to have this moment, that I was taking this with them too far. He slept on the couch and doesn't talk to me more than necessary. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. This wasn't a mistake. This was a choice. Your sister-in-law made a choice and told mother-in-law. Mother-in-law then chose to tell everyone else in the family. Your husband is making a choice to pressure you into things, leaving you to make some choices of your own now. You are allowed to make your own choices. Nobody, not even the husband, has a right to be in the delivery room. May seem harsh, but it's true. Especially since it sounds like the word didn't just spread, but that she told everyone. That's not a mistake. That's on purpose. OP, your sister-in-law slipping could have been an honest mistake. Your mother-in-law spreading it around was a concise choice. You may be going a little too far with your sister-in-law. Again, possible accident. But your mother-in-law made her choice and will now deal with the consequences. OMG, you were the last to know? One person is an accident. The whole family was a choice. Did anyone even apologize to you? Your husband is a huge idiot for thinking mommy's excitement is a higher priority than the woman who's actually pregnant. It sounds like your husband is using you as an incubator to give mommy and sissy a new toy. No way should his mother be at the birth. It's not dinner theater where your husband's entitled to sell tickets to the show. Everyone else can hang out in the waiting room until the baby's born and you're ready for them to visit. Honestly, mother-in-law sounds like the type who would pull out her phone and live stream the birth without telling OP. I'm currently staying with my in-laws. Before we came to visit, my mother-in-law asked me what pregnancy cravings I was having because she wanted to ensure they had them for me. I mostly crave chocolate fudge brownie ice cream, and they bought a lot of it for me. I was eating it directly out of the tub since it never lasts more than 2 days max, and nobody else was eating it as far as I was aware. My mother-in-law's goddaughter has been here for a few days too, and she saw me eating the ice cream from the tub and told me I was gross because somebody else could have wanted some, and I should use a bowl instead of just eating it directly from the tub. I told her I would eat it all anyway, and she accused me of being greedy. I started crying because we kept arguing over it, and she was making me feel awful. My husband saw me crying and was furious with her. My mother-in-law's been trying to smooth things with everybody, but my husband is still angry at her, and she's still mad at me because she thinks I cried on purpose to make him angry at her. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. I find it confusing and insulting that pregnant women aren't expected to act like adults. You're putting your germs in a tub of ice cream. It's not that hard to use a bowl and a spoon. Eat as much as you want, but give someone the option to have some. You can't help the tears because your hormones are haywire, but you can just move on from this and use a bowl. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It was purchased for her, and she mentioned that there was more than one tub. So if the goddaughter wanted some, all she needed to do was ask for some, and OP presumably would use a bowl for the next tub. If something is mine, I eat it however I want. If someone buys something for me, I eat it however I want. It really has nothing to do with her being pregnant. Not the idiot. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. The goddaughter could have said the same thing while being significantly less rude. The thing is, if OP was at her own house, I would totally back her. But she's eating someone else's food and being disgusting about it. Have some respect for your host. Mark or indicate your tub, you barbaric savages.